What's up, Michigan fans? Welcome back to the Maize and Bluebeard podcast, where we talk all things Michigan football, basketball, and all other sports. Thanks for being here. Look right here to know what to expect in this video. Let's go blue, and let's get to it. Edge rusher John Henry Daley, who we are all excited about, Michigan's prized edge out of the transfer portal. He sat down with the Wolverine of On3 recently and chatted about his update on his injury recovery, how things are going in Michigan so far, and he talked about his transfer portal recruitment process. Check out the article on the Wolverine if you haven't subscribed. They're awesome. You should follow them. But I'll just give you a few nuggets and talk about his injury update, of course. But I just thought it was cool how he talked about his decision to make. He was very coveted. A lot of other teams wanted him as well. Of course, Michigan had an upper hand with a lot of their staff being at Utah with him, where he had so much success. But there was a few things he wanted answered, and he talked a lot about his faith and how he prayed about it. And it was just cool to hear him talk about how all those things kind of came to be and became a reality when he visited Michigan, and he didn't need to visit anywhere else after that. He knew that was where he wanted to be. He talked about how he loves Michigan, he loves Ann Arbor, and he's really pumped. And he especially talked about the coaching staff, about how they hold players accountability, how they're great leaders, and how they're really teaching discipline and backing up their own actions, owning their own actions, owning their mistakes, learning from them, growing, and things like that, and getting better, and as people and as players. And I think that's just awesome to hear. He also talked about Lewis Powell and how fantastic he thinks of a coach that he is. Talks about how he's a great recruiter, how he has such a great track record in all of his coaching. In 10 seasons, he has over 240 sacks or something like that, and that he's put a lot of guys in the NFL, and just spoke glowingly about Lewis Powell. So you think about Lewis Powell and Larry Black together, run defense and pressure is going to be a lot better. But he had some awesome things to say about his injury recovery that gets me hyped. I know it's going to get you hyped too. So let me tell you what he said. So John Henry Daley said, "Man, it's going better than expected. Everyone's blown away with the progress I've made so far. It's been very encouraging on all fronts. Better than I expected, better than the surgeon expected. And we are flying along in the process. Got to be patient, can't rush anything, but at the same time, they want an aggressive approach to it, and I'm feeling great. Walking good, doing everything great, and just looking at the next steps now." Of course, last year, again, he had 48 tackles and 11.5 sacks before his season got derailed by injury. And he said for next season, he feels like that's the floor, not the ceiling of what he's going to be able to do. He loves that Michigan has national championship aspirations. He's fired up, and he says that everybody outside the building should be excited for what's to come this fall, because he says it's rocking. So it was awesome to hear. He is one of my favorite players they got in the transfer portal. I think he is going to be a linchpin for this defense. If he can be healthy, first of all, and play right away, it's going to make a huge difference. And if he can get healthy and get back to where he was last year and pick up where he left off, wow, watch out. This defensive line becomes a weapon all of a sudden when you have him on one side and then all that talent on the other. And you just need some people to step up in the rotation. It's going to be awesome. So I'm super pumped, excited to hear that his injury is going very well. His injury recovery is going very well. Fantastic news that Michigan got. I'm really excited. I'm sure you are too. So let's hope that it keeps going that way. It sounds like it's off to a great start. We still got some time before the season starts. Michigan basketball is set to take on the Purdue Boilermakers on the road in a huge showdown tonight. We're going to preview the game, break it down, talk about my keys to victory, all of that. But before we do that, we got a couple big things to talk about. One, Michigan's going to be number one going into that game. Yesterday, on Monday, the new poll came out, the top 25 poll, and Michigan was unanimously number one at 24-1, 14-1 in the Big Ten. Arizona, who had been number one for a while, lost twice last week. They fell to number 4. Houston moved up to number 2, and Duke is number 3, who Michigan faces on Saturday. So that game got a whole lot bigger, 1 versus 3. It's going to be quite the showdown, and I cannot wait. But Michigan heads into Purdue, who's ranked number 7 within the top 10. A huge game today and on Saturday against Duke. But it starts today. We'll talk about what Michigan needs to do to win that game in a moment. But first, I'm to talk about something kind of a little silly, but that has been making the rounds. And I usually don't talk on things like this, but I want to talk about it only for Michigan fans. Other teams' fans that dislike Michigan, of course, they're going to run with this. But some of you may have seen making the rounds a reel, a TikTok, a post from Yaxel Lendeborg, where he is at an establishment, and it's in the evening, and he's talking very colorfully about what Michigan's going to do to Purdue, how they're going to beat them. He uses some colorful language, so I can't show you the video here or anything, but if you've seen it, you know. And a lot of people, of course, are Purdue fans, Michigan State, Ohio State, all these fans talking about how Michigan doesn't know how to win and they're thugs and all this stuff. And it's like, good gravy. Okay, first of all, this is just for Michigan fans so that you don't read too much into this. I'll talk to you about what Dusty May said in a minute, but this is actually a clip that was recorded from before the season last year. And after Yaxel Lendeborg had chosen to forego the NBA draft and come to Michigan, he was excited. He was at an establishment because he was of age, and he was, enjoying some beverages and was just excited, feeling good, and he was having some fun with a fan that was talking about Purdue because at that time they were the preseason number 1. And he was talking about Go Blue, Michigan, the M, and we're going to, spank Purdue and all this stuff. He was just having fun being a young man. And I'll tell you what Dusty May talked about. But first, I just want to make sure that is not from this week. It is not during game week. It is not about Purdue and the upcoming game. This was way before he even played a game for Michigan, when he was just excited to be heading there. A fan was asking him to talk some smack about Purdue because he had a friend that was a Purdue fan and he wanted to send it to him. And Yaxel was just having fun with this fan. This is really not a big deal, but this is what Dusty May had to say about it. Now, is it a great look to see Yaxel cursing and at an establishment and doing all these things? No. And he does feel bad about how it makes him look now, but it was months ago before the season started, just having fun with friends and with friends and with the fans. So it's really nothing to worry about. But anyway, I do think it's cool what Dusty May said. He said, obviously I saw the video. It's been well circulated to this point. I have social media. I follow social media, so I don't have to say someone showed it to me to act like I don't have it. I spoke at length with Yaxel about it, and the most disappointing part of it is that he feels really bad about how he's perceived from children and those who look up to him. He said, Coach, I don't even use that language in conversation. I don't like the way it makes me look. I feel terrible about it. And then obviously how he's perceived by our fan base and those he cares about. Look, it's a great lesson. It's one of the reasons he's here. He wanted to learn to be a better pro, and to be a better pro, you need to have the mindset that you're probably always being recorded. If there's ever a moment that someone can use that information against you, they will. Then they obviously will. But May stressed it wasn't meant to put down a program. They all, including Lendeborg, have great respect for Purdue. It's an old video that was back in May, right after he signed with Michigan. Obviously, in the excitement of being here, playing in these games, he's at an establishment after hours. A fan asked him a question about the number 1 team in the country, and he said things he wishes he wouldn't have, but moving forward, it's a good learning lesson. And he also doesn't think it's bulletin board material for Purdue. He said, Purdue's a fantastic team. They have all-American great players. I don't think any of them are sitting there looking at that post and using it as bulletin board material. They know this is a huge game. They're up for it. They don't need any of that. And Dusty May is just fantastic. We are just in an age right now, and with Kyle Whittingham now at Michigan, where we just have fantastic coaching and we just have to enjoy it. Dusty May, you can just tell that he loves his players, he cares about them, and he's helping them grow into good people and good men, and he's helping Yaxel learn what it's going to be like to be a pro. He's always going to be watched. Things he does and says will always be able to come back around. And it's also cool to hear Yaxel say that, he's worried about kids that look up to him, because kids do. They watch basketball. They look up to these superstar players, and he knows that that's kind of can make it look bad if kids see that. So great learning experience for him. Was it dumb? Yeah, it probably was, but it wasn't from this week. It wasn't about Purdue right now, and it really is not a big deal. Dusty May's got it under control. Yaxel's a fantastic young man and a great player, and we're excited for Purdue, so let's break it down. So Michigan is set to take on Purdue. Purdue is a fantastic team. It's going to be a rocking atmosphere. It's going to feel like a tournament game. It's going to be tough. That place is going to be hopping, and they're going to be excited for their Purdue Boilermakers, and they're going to be down on Michigan, and they're going to let them hear it. So that's already going to be a wild environment. So that's one thing Michigan's have to deal with. Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer are two great guards. Michigan's going to have to keep an eye on them, and also Oscar Clough, from South Dakota State transfer. They're going to have to keep an eye on him. He is very good down low. He's good on rebounding. He is good at scoring and blocking. So strength against strength. Michigan's got 3 big men that can really get it done, but this is still going to be tough, and they're going to have to focus on things that I keep talking about, but that's because it is usually what you need to do to win. But this game, they definitely will need to do this, and that is number 1, strength for strength. They need to have a good game on the inside. Purdue is a very good rebounding team. They're very good at getting second chance possessions and points from rebounds. Clough is very good down low, offensively and defensively. So our big men are going to have a good game. They're going to be on it, offensively and defensively. They're going to have to try to win the points in the paint and the rebounding game. It's going to be very, very important. The next thing that Michigan needs to do is they're going to have to play good defense on the out. They're going to have to play good perimeter defense. These guards are fantastic. Not only are they good at creating for themselves, but at creating for their team, running the offense, finding the open man. Michigan's going to have to rotate, play together, talk to each other, and not get lackadaisical or lazy in their defense. They're going to have to rotate and switch and be on. And I think they know that. I think they'll be prepared, but they're going to have to play whistle to whistle and play hard defense. And finally, I usually talk about turnovers. That is always important, but I feel like Michigan's been a little better with turnovers. But what they really need to focus in this game, it is going to be a tough game. If Michigan does everything they're capable of and Purdue doesn't shoot well or something, Michigan could run away with this game. But if it's going to be close, Michigan must make their free throws. They've not been doing well in the free throw department lately, and now we're getting into these tough games that could be down to the wire, and Michigan needs to make their free throws. So big men need to go off. They need to be solid. They need to win points in the paint, rebounding game. They need to be good down low. They also need to play good defense on the perimeter and play together, be smart, because these guards are fantastic. And finally, they need to make their free throws. Because if they're playing tough, they're going to get free throw opportunities, and they need to make sure that Purdue pays for putting them on the free throw line, which is something they haven't been doing as of late. If they do those things, I think Michigan has a great chance to win, and I cannot wait to see how it goes. I will do a post-game live chat tonight, so make sure that you keep an eye out on the channel so that you can join me and we can talk live and hopefully celebrate a Michigan victory tonight over Purdue. Michigan baseball lost today in extra innings, 5-4 on a walk-off home run to Oregon State, who rankings-wise, it's going to take some getting used to me for baseball to understand their thought process with the top 25. Starting the season, before the weekend of games, Oregon State was number 12. Michigan was unranked. Michigan wins 3 games over the weekend, including beating Oregon State. Oregon State goes 2-1 over that weekend. The 2 teams they beat, Michigan also beat, but then Michigan beat them. Michigan remains unranked. Oregon State moves up to number 11. I don't understand. I'm going to have to learn this baseball ranking system. But anyway, Michigan played great today. They really should have won. If you caught the game, leave me a comment down below. I watched it. And side note, the best way if you're going to get a streaming service for Michigan games, don't get Flow Sports, Flow College, unless there's other stuff on there you want. I thought all Michigan's games would be on there, but because all these non-conference early games are. But then I looked, and it's still the best is Big Ten Plus, is to get, and then you can watch Michigan football, hockey, women's basketball, softball, lacrosse, swimming, wrestling. You can watch all the Michigan sports. So it's a great pickup if you get that. And then some of these early games, non-conference, I just paid for a month of Flow Sports because I don't need it for the whole year. I just need it for this first month of these non-conference Michigan games. But anyway, if anyone's interested in watching some Michigan baseball, I think that's the best way to do it. And then with Big Ten Plus, you can watch some Michigan hockey, watch some softball as well. But anyway, we'll talk about them in a second. But Michigan had a lot of chances. They got early on. The pitchers were rocking. Got down early, 3-1, but then they came storming back, tied it at 3, got down 4-3, came back, tied it at 4. Then they ran out of gas and lost in extra innings. But they really should have won because they had multiple chances and multiple innings where they had bases loaded or somebody on third or second and third or first and third with nobody out or 1 out or 2 outs, and they just couldn't get that extra run home. They could have won them the game sooner. But the relief pitching was great. Oregon State's going to be one of the top teams all year, so it was a great showing by Michigan to beat them and then hang in there and almost win again. You're not going to win them all, but they look fantastic. I think they're going to have a great year this year. And it was really fun watching them. They continued to hit, but they just couldn't get that big hit that they needed. They did keep it close. They did tie it up. They're scrappy. They kept coming back. So hopefully that'll continue to grow, and they'll be able to hit better when they have those chances and not leave them there. Because if they would have got a couple of those, they would have blown this game open, and they would have been 4-0 going into next weekend. So they return to action on Friday against Florida State. I'm excited to check out that one. Florida State is another good ranked team, so we'll see what Michigan is made of if they can carry over the success of this first weekend into next weekend. Editing Beard here. Somehow my clip talking about softball team got cut out, but they had a great weekend as well, and they are off to a great start at 8-2. As you can see here, it just talks a little bit about the last game they played on Sunday. They won 9-0, and some of the standouts there. And then it talks about how they're back in action starting on Friday against New Mexico State. They've got a 5-game slate out west. So, hey, if you got Big Ten Plus, or check out the stats on MGoBlue.com and support the softball team. They are always good, and once again, they're off to a great start and looking like they're going to be a force again in NCAA softball. Michigan had a huge win against number 13 Michigan State on Sunday. They defeated Michigan State 86-65 to sweep the season series with Michigan State. Michigan moved to 22-4, 13-2 in the Big Ten. They're currently ranked number 7. They have the next week off, and they will not play again until Sunday when they play Iowa. Now it's time for the question of the day results from yesterday's question of the day, when I asked, because I did a video breaking down the tight end position group. Check out that video if you haven't yet. I asked, who is your favorite Michigan tight end of all time? I switched it up a little. I didn't just say who's the best. Who's your favorite that you've watched? And you could choose from these 3, but there was a lot of great options that people mentioned in the comment as their favorite. But I had Colson Loveland, Jake Butt, or Jeremy Tooman, or other, which there's so many good ones that you could name off. Jay Reamersma, Aaron Shea, Devin Funchess, Eric All, Zach Gentry. There's so many that you can think of. Check out the comments. People were dropping ones where I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about him. He was awesome. But so many good ones. So the results are in, and here they are. As you can see here, probably 1, a little recency bias, and 2, he was really awesome. The winner by quite a wide margin was Colson Loveland. He was fun to watch. He was really good, very talented, clearly with how good he did for the Bears this year. But also he had that swagger, and he could just say things to get under our rivals' skin after games. And he had big games, or his best games and the biggest games at the biggest moments. He was a fun one. I would probably say, this is a tough one, but I would probably say Colson Loveland, just because he was the tight end when we had that special season with the national championship. He made some huge plays for Michigan, and he was just a lot of fun to watch. But I love Jake Butt. I love his commenting he does on games. I love his stuff he does on YouTube and with Devin Gardner. He's just fantastic all around. And Jeremy Tooman was awesome. I loved watching him. And Jay Reamersma before him. I loved Aaron Shea. So many good tight ends out there. You can't go wrong. Like I said, look in the comments of that post, and there's a million great tight ends Michigan's had. So hopefully one of these from the new group of tight ends going into next year are going to step up and become that next great Michigan tight end. Thank you to everybody that voted. Remember, I do a question of the day every day, so if you haven't voted on today's, head on over to the community tab and vote on today's question of the day. That's going to do it for this episode of the Maize and Bluebeard podcast. That's all I've got. Thanks for hanging out with me. Go Michigan tonight against Purdue. Hopefully they get that big win. I will do a live post-game chat, so keep an eye out on the channel for that. I'll see you then, and until I do, as always, enjoy your day and go Blue.